Hello and welcome to another video from me. In this video I would like to draw your attention to a language of the Quran that is understandable to all people. The Quran has been revealed in clear Arabic, Surah 13 verse 37, and thus we have revealed it as a judgment in Arabic. If you follow their inclinations after the knowledge that has come to you, you will have neither protector nor guardian before God. The Quran clearly states that its language is Arabic. But did you know that the Arabic language can also be written in a language that everyone can read, namely in numbers? The ancient Arabs, just like the Romans, used letters as numbers, and this is called the abjad system. The numerical system of the Arabic language consists of exactly 28 Arabic letters, each with a corresponding numerical value. Let's take the opening sentence of the Quran. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. We can represent the sentence as numbers in various ways. The first method would be the count of the letters. If we do this, we get 19 letters. Alternatively, we could count the words, which would be exactly 4 words. However, there is another method. We add up the numerical value of each individual letter for the entire verse. The Arabic letter ba also represents the number 2, the Arabic letter sin represents the number 60, the letter mim represents the number 40. If we do this for every letter in the verse, we get the number 786. But we can also use other methods. We can write the numerical value of the letters next to each other. This means that the Arabic letter ba, which represents the number 2, the Arabic letter sin, which represents the number 60, and the letter mim, which represents the number 40, are now written next to each other, giving us the number 26,040. If we do this for every letter in this sentence, we get this long number. But that's not all. We can do the same for the words. For example, Bism is a word, Allah is a word, Ar-Rahman is a word, Ar-Rahim is a word. We would now look at the value of the word Bism, as already mentioned. The letter Ba has the value 2, the letter Sin has the value 60, and the letter Mim has the value 40. If we add these three numbers together, we get the value 102. We do the same for the remaining word. Allah would be 66, Ar-Rahman would be 329, Ar-Rahim would be 289. This means we can now write the numerical value of the words side by side. We would then get this number. This type of calculation would be possible at the verse level, at the surah level, and for the entire Quran. Imagine a scripture sent down by God and also mathematically encoded by Him, so that everyone, regardless of whether they know Arabic or not, can be convinced that the Quran is from God. Numbers would be the perfect choice for this. On the website, the criterion 786.org, we used 7 different methods to express the Quran in numbers. And when we applied the same to the entire Quran, we also used 7 further variations for each method. The number 19 serves as a verification here. It is helpful to acquire prior knowledge about the miracle of 19. Let's begin with the global logs. That is our calculations for the entire Quran. M1a is the total number of letters, meaning how many letters are in the entire Quran. The criterion Musaf contains 322,392 letters, which is a multiple of 19. 19 times 16,968. M1b shows the number of letters per verse. Surah 1, verse 1 has exactly 19 letters. verse 2 has 17 letters, verse 3 has 12 letters, and so on until the end of the Quran. This number is not a multiple of 19. M1c. If we concatenate the number of letters per verse from the end of the Quran to the beginning, it means we write them side by side. For example, Surah 114, verse 6 has 13 letters, verse 5 has 20 letters, and verse 4 has 17 letters. We obtain a number with 13,226 digits, and this number is a multiple of 19. M1d counts the letters only from the end of the Quran to the beginning. This number is therefore the same as in M1a. M1e writes the total numbers of letters in the surahs, side by side. Surah 1 has 139 letters. Surah 2 has 25,470 letters. And Surah 3 has 14,537 letters. If we do this for each surah until the end of the Quran, we obtain this number, which is not a multiple of 19. M1f writes the total number of letters in each surah, side by side, but in reverse order. That is, if we go to Surah 114, this surah has 99 letters. Surah 113 has 90 letters, and so on. We get this long number. M2a counts the words in the entire Quran. Here we see that the Quran has 77,850 words, according to the criterion Musaf. M2b writes the number of words side by side. So Surah 1 verse 1 has 4 words, verse 2 has 4 words, verse 3 has 2 words, and so on to the end of the Quran. M2c writes the number of words side by side, starting with Surah 114. So Surah 114 verse 6 has 3 words, verse 5 has 5 words, and so on to the beginning of the Quran. M2d counts the words in the entire Quran but backwards, therefore the result is the same as in M2a. M2e simply writes the number of words in each surah next to each other. Surah 1 has 29 words, Surah 2 has 6,121 words, and so on until the end of the Quran. M2f simply writes the number of words in each surah next to each other, but backwards. This means Surah 114 has 24 words and Surah 113 has 27 words, and this how you get this number. Now let's move on to M3. From here on, please recall the beginning of the video. We started that each Arabic letter has a numerical value, and if we consider the numerical value in verse 1, we arrive at the number 786. We will apply this calculation to our work. I should mention that phases 3 and 4 will be helpful in understanding these calculations better. M3a simply represents the numerical value for the entire Quran. So we write each letter as a number and add up all the numerical values, obtaining the number 23,458,967 for the entire Quran. M3b simply writes the numerical value for each verse side by side. Surah 1 verse 1 has the numerical value of 786. Verse 2 has the numerical value 1253. Verse 3 has the value 232. And this continues until the end of the Quran. M3c simply writes the numerical value for each verse side by side, but in reverse order. We go to Surah 114, verse 6, and see that the verse has a numerical value of 227. Verse 5 has a value of 1415, and we write these side by side until the beginning of the Quran. M3D is the same as M3A but in reverse order. M3E is the abjad value of the letters. It means the numerical value for each surah chained together. This means Surah 1 has a numerical value of 10,143 and Surah 2 has a value of 1,825,398 and Surah 3 has the value of 1,057,192. If we continue this process for each surah, we write these numbers side by side, we obtain a number 618 digits long, which is also a multiple of 19. The digit length of 618 is also a very significant number. It is in fact the numerical value of Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, Surah 1 verse 3, translate as the most gracious, the most merciful. M3F simply writes the abjad value of the surahs backwards. Surah 114 has a value of 5,687, followed by the value of Surah 113, and then the value of Surah 112. Now let's move on to M4. Again, please recall the beginning of the video. We said we can represent the introductory phrase Bismillahirrahmanirrahim as a concatenated number. This would have been this number. This can be done for every verse in the Quran. M4A is the sum of the values for each verse in the Quran formulated in this way. This means we did the same for verse 2, verse 3, verse 4, and so on, all the way to the end of the Quran, and then added them together. M4B simply lists the concatenated numerical values for each letter in the Quran side by side. Verse 1 was this number. Verse 2 was this number. If we now write these numbers side by side for all verses, we get this long number. M4C does the same thing as M4B, but in reverse. We go to Surah 114, verse 6. Surah 114, verse 6 contains this number. Surah 114, verse 5 contains this number. And Surah 114 verse 4 contains this number. Now we write these numbers side by side until we reach the beginning of the Quran, thus obtaining this number. M4D is the same as M4A, but in reverse. M4E is simply the sum we obtained in Surah 1, then written side by side in Surah 2 and Surah 3 until the end of the Quran. M4F is simply the same as M4E, except we start from Surah 114, then Surah 113, and so on. Now let's move on to M5. We recall that we can represent the numerical value of the words. The word Bism has the value 102. And the word Allah has the value 66. If we do this for the entire verse and write them side by side, we get this number. M5A is simply the sum of all word combinations in the entire Quran. M5B writes each word combination side by side. M5C writes each word combination from the end of the Quran to the beginning side by side. M5D is the same as M5A, only in reverse, which is why the result is the same. M5E simply writes the sum at the surah level side by side. M5F simply writes the sum side by side at surah level, starting with Surah 114, then 113, and then Surah 112, and so on. This number is a multiple of 19. As we can see, the pattern of the variations is the same, and so it is with M6 and M7. Now let's look at M6. M6 is simply the same as M4 but calculated in reverse. Let's take the opening sentence of the Quran as an example. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. We said previously that the letter ba equals 2. But instead of starting with ba, we now start with mim, the last letter. This letter has a value of 40. The letter that follows would be the penultimate letter, namely ya, which has a value of 10. If we continue this process to the end of the verse, we obtain this number. M6a is simply the sum of all Quranic verses applied using this method. M6b concatenates the result for each verse. M6c concatenates the result for each verse from the end of the Quran to the beginning. M6d does the same as M6a, just reverse. M6e is simply the sum of Surah 1, the sum of Surah 2, and so on, written side by side. This number has 21,920 digits and is a multiple of 19. M6f is simply the sum of Surah 114, the sum of Surah 113, and so on, written side by side. Now let's move on to M7. M7 does the same thing as M5, only in reverse. Let's take the opening sentence of the Quran again. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. We said that the word Bism has a numerical value of 102, Allah has a value of 66, Ar-Rahman has a value of 329, Ar-Rahim a value of 289. We said that if we write these numbers side by side, we get this number. But now we start with the last word, Ar-Rahim. Then the number would be look like this. M7a is simply the sum of all the numbers in the Quran. M7b is the verse by verse sequence leading up to the end of the Quran, and this number has 207, 8,148 digits and is a multiple of 19. M7, C, D, and E follow the same pattern as described above. G is just a result from M1a, M2a to M6a written side by side. But what does all these calculations mean exactly? It means that we have exactly 7 global logs in the criterion Mustaf, meaning that 7 calculations are multiples of the number 19. Therefore, it becomes very difficult to add to or subtract from the Quran, because doing so would break the system. Even attempting to move a single letter becomes very difficult, because firstly, the change must make sense, and secondly, it usually breaks the system. In phase 6, you can do exactly that and see whether the system breaks down or not. We have also done this with other readings of the Quran, which you can check on the website. In summary, these calculations are multiples of 19.